fo, fum. I smell the bones of an Englishman.
Fee-fi-fo-fum, crossbone swords and a bottle of rum. Heave-hi-ho-hum, no rest for the lily-livered pirates come. From the dawning of the day to the drowning of the sun, no rest for the lily-livered pirates come.
Am I locked? There we go. Okay. Gotta have my, my daily serving of lead, as everyone likes to talk about. Anytime iPad. Boop. Boop. There it is. It's loud behind me. Give me a second. There we go. Cool. Got it all figured out. There we go. Cool. Fix that. I was tweaking something. Okay. What do we got? So last night before bed, I decided to top this guy off. I think this one came out really good. A lot of like mixing up the layers to really get the details right. Yeah, it looks freaking awesome. And it goes well against the counterpart that's icy. All right. So what we're gonna work on is some clothing today. There it is. This guy needs his green clothes. I think he's the only one wearing green. Yeah, so I could probably make his base green as well. Make it super simple for me. Uh-huh. Can I get a little bit closer? So, moving the camera around. That's basically what I want. Cool. There we go. Just a little bit bigger. That's what I wanted. Okay. There we go. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Up under the pants a little bit. Never gonna see it, but someone's gonna look. There we go. Let's get the ground green. When it comes to minis, always consider what the base is. It's a lot of fun for wargaming to have your bases be aesthetic to the terrain. If you have specific minis like heroes or something like that, it's always worth making the base a bright color. So that way whenever you look at the map, you spot them. brush feels like it's falling apart in my hand. So cheap. Ball and chain, we can have metal. Kobe! I'm gonna need that brush for something else later. No train? No train issues? Cool. Let's get this brush. No, I need my pencil. That's what I need. And we need some beige. That's a lot of beige. Damn, that's a waste. Need to go have dinner though? Go have dinner, man. Enjoy that food. What's for dinner? Rice and pork from yesterday. Dude, nothing wrong with leftovers. Make sure you get those dark greens though, son. That fiber. There we go. Just some darker brown around the feet and knees. Put on some of his elbows and hands too. white. Want oak brown for the whistle. Or the flute. I keep calling it a whistle. Fixed my name. Oh, was it? Oh, look at that. I thought it would update the previous names, but yeah, you did. You're so clever. That's an interesting feeling, Kobe. That's an interesting feeling. What makes you think that's true? Yep, made him crooked-eyed. It's so gunky of a face now. Oh yeah? Which one do you think was Nico? Dang it. Pinning over eye mistakes is so hard. I'll have to let this dry and then try again later. Do I not have a pin? I know I have a clothespin somewhere. Where's my med kit? There it is. I don't need to use these. I have cosmetic ones. Hang on. Here we go. A true pin. The one with the long cloak. Oh, the guy in the golden armor? It's possible. It's also possible that you're wrong. You willing to take that risk? Woo! Okay, that's a good start. Very like Batman-esque or Spider-Man-esque. It's good enough for now for the eyes. Let that dry and then I can shape around that. Cool, he's good. Let's get the goblin going. Goblin? Yeah, goblin. Okay, so I want to paint arid earth for skin, and then red wash to build up the red hue. Get the whole arm here. We can add the brown later. Wondering. And he's got some knees showing. Ooh. Does he have toes? Kinda? Okay. Painting's going. I'll show you some of the results. So I put this guy down. Great. We just got this guy pretty far. My little flute boy. Last night, I spent like literally 2 minutes, not worth streaming. Finish this guy up. So now we have these two partners in crime. And we just put the first layer of flesh on the arms, knee, and toes for this red goblin. And it looks like doing 2 coats of the red wash turned out really well. Focal plane. So gotta let that dry before applying the wash. And just pounding down my lead shake. Lead. Yeah, the magma effect is great. I really got it down from when I first started with these guys. So with this, we're gonna put some metal armor on him. Then we gotta clean up his hair. He does have a breastplate. Just leveled up your Star Wars 5e character? Nice. Birthday level up credit? Funny. It's funny how slow, not in a negative way, but how slow the game gets when you use like XP instead of milestones. I'm specifically talking about like Shadow Dark, where the XP system is way easier. It's 10. The XP that you need to level up is 10 times your current level. So level 3 needs 30 XP. It's just sometimes hard to get XP. It's interesting how slow the game gets and how much more breathing room players have to like explore the setting and look for the adventure versus what's the next thing? What's the next story point? What's the next story point? And it's important to know that Shadowdark's XP is not tied to killing monsters. It's tied to a mix of awards, heroic acts, treasure, and then the carousing or ceremony system mini game that you play. Even though you can do milestone, I am currently finding for long form play XP in Shadowdark is the best way to go. But there's also, I've talked about this before. Oracle's not the right word. What did I use? It was this milestone XP hybrid. Not dreams. Dreams is almost accurate though. I have a video with it in the title. Prophecy. It's prophecy. Prophecy. What it does is in the video, I laid out the ideal math that you would figure out how many of these actual milestones for your character are, kind of like level up points. And you would talk to your players beforehand and figure out what are their goals for the character. What's the prophecy? Where is this character going? And it's okay if they don't have it all fully figured out, but you want like, hey, you know, what's this chapter of their life? What would, and you can interpret what that arc is. And from that, you figure out the prophecy of that character. And then the milestones are the big archways of that character's story in the greater campaign. Sometimes those archways for multiple players can be synced up and be the same thing. Often they can't be, and that's okay. And you would just lay that out almost like you would a beat sheet. And then between the beat sheet, you can figure out how you're going to get from point A to point B between the beats. And that's how you flow through a campaign as well. I had black paint. There it is. How I'm running XP in Shadowdark is you need XP to level up. So everyone has to get their own rate. Once you get to 30, because we're at level 3 right now, once you get to 30, no one can level up until everyone gets to 30, and then you have to, I will plan a kind of milestone event to trigger the XP jump. So the XP just kind of functions as the road to the next chapter. And it's dictated by the player's choices. especially for long form. Short form, like a one-shot, it's up in the air. You can level up every night. You can I'm kind of a big fan of leveling up every night on a one-shot. This brush is getting too fat. It's okay if I get too much black on there. I can cover it up. And that'll do it for now. My dark brown. And this is underarm. Can't have that. Long-term, short-term goals were basically us, the players, being like, we finally got to the city. Then when we get to the fight, what would be a long term? Can't wait to get back to playing a regular D&D game. Want to play my Dhampir fighter again? Dhampir! Oh. I got painted. Just an open bottle of paint here, and my arm just rested on it. Let's see, where was I? Around the face. The hard part. Where's my little pin? Oh no. I put it somewhere where I cannot see. What have I done? How could I have done that? I'm such a fool. Fool of a toque. There it is. I'm not a fool. I'm a real boy. Okay. All right. Like 99% there. For his base, we already used green. I don't want to use yellow on this one. Blue. Move away from the people that I used to play with and need to find a new group. The best way to find a new group is like for D&D specifically. Look for a local improv group or improv classes or something performative or game shop. So you can find people who like to role play, tell stories, people who like to play games. You know, you gotta look for that demo in the right place. There we go. Let's get a little close up. See those sausage thumbs? Really enjoy painting, but sometimes I get a bit disheartened when I see what other people are managed to produce. Buddy, I've been not painting minis, but painting and drawing like since I was single digits old. You know, I have a background in filmmaking. I know color theory. I also, you know, I have reference art to be going by on a couple of these. So I'm just painting by number, which is how I kind of started when I started painting, which is getting paint by number stuff. It's just a skill, and like any skill, it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. Try things, watch how other people do things, and then do that once. You know, a great example is this fire golem looking guy, right? I really like it. I think it's really cool. That's not where I started. The first time I painted a fire elemental was this guy. This guy, though, a big important part of that is I watched a bunch of videos on how other people paint fire. So I had no idea how to do this, no idea how to do water, air, had a rough idea how to do earth. And you kind of learn the cheat of the element. Like, instead of it being dark and shadowy in the cracks, it's reverse. The darkness is on the edges. And once you understand that layering system, it's pretty easy to go and make your own fire guy. And it just takes a little bit of time and patience to build up the layers. Let's see. What was the first time I ever painted a mini? It was a donkey and a wagon, and I spent a total of 48 hours on both. It looked really good, but that's because I also thought about weathering the cracks, the details like that, because filmmaking, you think about those details. So don't beat yourself up. You just keep making the things that you like. And an easy cheat code is use wash once it's all dry, and it'll make you look like you're 20 times better. What paints am I using? Quick drying ones. It's a pain in the butt. Apple Barrel is the cheapest paint to go get. It dries very quick, but it's very cheap. A lot of them, what I have is the Army Painter war paints. I would only recommend these, honestly, for very specific colors or effects. They like this 2-ounce bottle. Let me get the focus right. This 2-ounce bottle cost half of however small this thing is. 0.6 ounces. This cost half. So for general colors that you know you're going to be using, cheap. Hold on, I'm getting bombarded by texts. Give me a second. Okay. I'll deal with them after stream. Let's honestly, painting figures is really fun. One of my favorite things to paint, even if they don't look amazing. It's fun to try. Absolutely. It gets intimidating when you start building terrain, though. Everything's so much bigger. Quality of the minis help. These are 3D printed, which could be fun, but you get a lot of the resolution lines. And I think something that would help for starting, I would just get... I wonder, is it cheaper to have a 3D printer, I think it's not a resin one. What's the liquid 3D printer? Is it cheaper to have that than just go to a game store and buy some basic minis in like a loose pack and then paint them? That is resin? What am I? Filament and resin. There we go. Thank you. Filament has lines, resin doesn't. Is it cheaper to have a resin printer with resin than it is to just buy minis? I think they're like $2 to $5 a pop. If you're starting out and you do it occasionally, it would be cheaper to just go buy the mini. If you're doing it as a full-time hobby, like this is the thing that you love doing, the thing that you work on, or you're building a set because you're going to be playing a lot, and you already have a game going and you're just trying to add to that, then the investment to a resin printer makes sense. But if you're just like grabbing minis to paint them, yeah, you don't. It's probably cheaper just to buy the minis. Let's see. You could also just, instead of the 3D printer, you can also go to Etsy, where many people have 3D printers. And you can pay technically market rate, if not cheaper, by a small percentage for minis that are printed and then shipped to you. You know, let that dry so that way he can get a second coat. And this sucker wash all types of armor. Is this a black wash? No, it should be a brown. It's definitely a dark brown. Not. Yeah, let's go dark brown, and I can always pull it off. Okay. I forgot his eyes. It's fine. The wash will take care of that. It's a little dark. I mean, I just made it wet. I don't want that brush now. I think this guy looks good. Especially if we compare it to that. Yeah. How long have I been streaming? About a good hour. Cool. I don't want to put as dark of a wash on this guy. So let's get some light wash. Cool. Cheap brushes. Just pulled the tip off. Ah, went out of focus. There we go. Now his detail is a little bit better. So let's see. We have. How's this guy doing? Oh, he's dry. Just needs a wash, and then I need to finish his base. Let's give him that wash. This guy's so weird looking in like a really cool way. More dramatic cape look. Great. Is D in this campaign? Maybe, maybe not, maybe. You're gonna have to watch and find out. I can't tell you all of it. So it's gonna be brown up top. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Let's make this blue as well. What if I said yes and no at the same time? What would you take that answer? What would you think that answer means? I'm gonna dirty up these cloths, especially the wraps on the feet. But need that base off-white. There we go. Cool. That's all gotta dry because we're dealing with whites, which don't want to mess that up. Whites are sensitive. Cool. That's all gotta dry. Am I streaming tonight? I can't remember. I believe. I mean, today's the 31st, so it's Halloween. That means It episode 2 just dropped on HBO, and I'm going to my brother-in-law's place to watch it. I might stream after that. Yeah, because the rest of the day is very busy. streaming tomorrow for sure, tomorrow morning. Yeah, so what we have to do to finish up is second coat of red skin on the red goblin. His clothes, he's probably going to have a red base. I'll probably give the orc a yellow base. We gotta clean up the white wraps. Give him a little bit more green on one side as well as red on the other side. Then, oh, Kobe, thank you very much. Oh, did I miss something? Wandering Storms asked, I had a concept for a D&D setting and I wanted your opinion. Ooh, I'm so sorry I missed this. A city world that's themed like Gotham / Metropolis, where the player characters are working towards being heroes in this world. Ooh. Okay. That's interesting. Hey, Kobe, what is that? 24 months? Awesome. So I would start with the setting being the city, not the planet being the city, but just starting in the city. Because that's where all the action happens, right? Something you could do, which I think DC doesn't do. I mean, I know they don't do it, but they don't do this enough where they could. So Gotham and Metropolis are very much opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're also completely different cities in the same world. New York and Chicago as an example. I like the idea that Gotham and Metropolis are the same city instead of neighboring cities. Maybe they're neighboring cities that just were so close to each other they kind of connect. I like the idea that Gotham is kind of the grungy side of the city and Metropolis is the wealthier side of the city, more influential. And then you could actually have a little bit more of a dynamic bit of scenery in a single city. Because the moment you have them as separate cities and separate locations, the traveling between the places can become daunting to the characters and the players. And then you're prepping like two different you might think this, you might like different economies, different politics, have it all messed up in one. That'd be the big tip I have there. Because then Batman, you know, you're having a world where Superman is kind of helping the nobles and elites while Batman's trying to help the common person, and is an elite while Superman is a common person. You know, you're having something interesting contrastically there. Yeah, like in Arcane, you have that kind of combo in one, but it feels so much more dynamic and bigger because it's broken out in its districts. And when you make a city a setting, the districts themselves are towns. Cities are that big. The Blade Runner RPG breaks time, and I've kind of adapted this into Shadowdark, so let's see if I can get this communicated correctly. Starting with Blade Runner, which the campaign setting is Los Angeles. it breaks down. Your day is in 4 chunks, and you need to rest. No, the amount of time that you're awake, you have 4 chunks of time that you can do stuff. You can be doing stuff in a district, or you can spend that to travel to a new district. If the district's really far away, it costs 2 slots out of your 4 just to get there, right? And I apply that to Shadow Dark in that, like, oh, if we're moving from... We're not in combat, so how do we apply action and movement, right? Very similar to D&D's action, bonus action, movement. Well, in the roleplay aspect or exploration aspect of the city, I would say you can move to a new district using your movement. You can use your action to do a thing in that district, or you can use your action to make another movement to move 2 districts in your turn. And you kind of want to have that like turn-based system if you're gonna play this, because 1, you get to make sure everyone's doing a thing, but 2, it kind of feels like you're tracking time. The music got tense. You're kind of tracking time that way, or at least it feels that like that. Like, okay, you're moving, you know, for your turn, you're moving to this district and going to the shop. Cool. What are you doing? You're going from this district to that district to do the thing. You're not going to go anywhere. Instead, you're going to use your action to do a thing here. And then you can dive into those scenes where everyone knows where everyone's going and doing. Yeah, that makes sense. That's... What is this music? Oh, it went to Lo-Fi Girl. That tells you I've been streaming for a minute. Went to the next music. D&D, it can work in D&D. It can work in Shadow Dark. It can work in most games. You just have to understand how you're applying the mechanics and how it doesn't feel like a different game than what you're playing. City of Mist can be a better system depending on the goal of the game that you're playing. Yeah, I'm still in that mood. But it's similar. A city with districts is not that different to thinking of a dungeon with rooms. Or crawling through a dungeon, right? Each room is a district. Except that most districts have to kind of connect to each other. Where do I have my map? It's around here somewhere. Hang on. You go right there. There it is. Yeah, so here's a bunch of different maps. This one's in pencil, so it'll be a little hard. But what I essentially have, River Mill. So this is essentially a dungeon map where I have a town laid out here and I have a dungeon in a cave set up here. And the players can choose to figure out which way they're going to go, and they all end up connecting if they find their way. I'm a big fan of point crawl maps. You know, this is a random generated map using Shadow Dark system. This is a map that I drew overly detailed, and then my cat got into it. But rather than drawing maps that way now, this is a city. In my Aida setting, this is one of the largest cities in the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what that one referenced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, mini rooms within the room. That's what those were. So like we have a gate here, we have a gate here. This is a dock. So this is way in and way out of the city castle. But you notice how different to a dungeon room or a dungeon map where not every single room is connected. Only a few, and then there are secret rooms that connect multiple. Right here is probably the most complicated connection, and it's not that complicated. Whereas this is like, okay, we go to the Carve Market, we go to the main market. The main market, you can go to Carve, go to Stone Step, you can go to Town Square, go to the Rose Court, you can go to the Ink Spire, you can go to the Justice Hall, go to the college. From the college, you can find another gate, to the Duke's Manor. The Duke's Manor has a connection to the Archduke's Castle, but you can tell that everywhere else there's a gate blocking that. So that's a very... Once it gets simple, that means there's a lot more protection around it. Whereas we go over here to the other side of town, we have a couple gates blocking the delve from Stone Step. Stone Step is a residential area. I would say low to medium income, nothing really too high, but not really that great. The delve is the Underdark residential area that does go off and connect to other cities through the Underdark caverns and roads and train system. This is a giant grave, not a graveyard, it's a cemetery. Because the temple has its own graveyard over there. Right there. There's the graveyard temple. And we want the Archduke to have access to the graveyard for whatever reason. And then outside of the city, as a reference, I have the Grain Ring. These are 3 golden rings. The Grain Ring, the Commons, and the Front Line. In the Grain Ring, the first ring outside of Martima, you have a vast rural farming system supplying a lot of the food that the city needs, not just for eating, storage, but also trade. The Commons section just outside of that is a lot of the, one would call it suburbia, but it's more rural suburbia, scattered around outside the Grain Ring. And then just beyond that is the Front Line, where it now starts to go into old lost homes. Think of like the mountains of Italy, where you have a lot of old rural houses that are just falling apart and ruined because time has moved on. That's on the Front Line leading into the wild. So you can think of districts like rooms in a dungeon, and you can think of big districts with smaller rooms inside too. And this can be your overview map of where you want to go. So you can go with a movement from here to here and turn your action to movement, you get there. Or you could have just done one movement straight to there, but you wanted to stop somewhere. And that's how it kind of feels like in a city. You don't have to be figuring out which alleyways are going where. But it's like, if we just go this way, we can get there faster. Or we can go around to stop somewhere and get something before we arrive where we need to arrive. That feels like a city. Heck yeah, wandering. So that's as much brain energy I've put into city building. Because I don't often play in the cities, but I'm prepping for one to be played in a city. Actually in a couple cities. So I'm trying to wrap my head on how do I want to think about it in that it still feels like a game, and that I'm not wishy-washy about the time it takes to travel through a city. But at the same time, it's not combat, it's not super strict. So it's like finding the balance of like, hey, this is kind of like crawling through a dungeon, just less stakes. Something you can also do per district is roll on a temperance table. I think I had to make mine, but what it basically is like, what's the temperance of the people in the district? Did a crime just happen? Did arson just happen? Something big, and now there's guards all over the place. So your rogue wanted to go over here to check in on the Thieves Guild, and it's like, woo, going somewhere else, and that kind of throws a wrench in things. And really, you don't need to, in my thinking, you don't really need to come up with the shops. You can have a list of shops if you want. Totally. And a list of NPCs, but you don't have to tie them down. You can really just say what kind of things and aesthetics of those things is where you can go to get. Like, we want to go to the Arts and Theaters District, or we want to go to the Crafts District, or we need to go to the banks. Para, Saucy, Carve. These are three. Interesting that I don't have Norse. Oh, Norse is up here. Okay, cool. That makes more sense. But those are 4 districts based off the 4 common languages in the region, the 4 common languages in the world. And my thinking in that is like, it's equivalent to like Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Little Italy, and there's like a small hub for that unique culture in this big city. And if you want something specific from that would exist, instead of going all the way to the Eastlands, we can just go to the Para district and get some information because we're in the city. And that can lead to an adventure into the Eastlands, because that requires you to be geographically somewhere. But having a district that is based off a different location's culture kind of helps lay down foundations for bigger campaigns and adventures. What else do I got fucking going on in here? The docks, castle. And you could, if you want, per your adventures, go more detailed on your art and maps. You can find maps if you want to fill in each district, if that's something you're more interested in. Go ahead and do that. You don't have to have that for the full city, though. Checking my time. But I hope that helps. I hope that gets the brain juice flowing. And I'd love to hear what you come up with. But first, I need to go back to work. This was a lot of fun. A lot of fun hanging out, talking minis, talking paint. Ooh, that fell over. And talking world building and settings. How's this guy drying? Oh, he dried really well. Looks really good. Of course. Happy to give you input. I'm sorry I missed it the first time. Thank you, Kobe, for catching that and getting my attention. You go get your food. I'll go get my food, and I'm going to get to work. So, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I may or may not stream tonight, but I'm definitely streaming tomorrow morning. So, you know what? Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening. And in case I don't see you, good night.